Great. Hi, everybody. Jay Myers here, and welcome to another version of our NGen project podcast. Today, we're highlighting a very special project, one of our largest, actually, led by OmniaBio. And I'm really pleased to be joined today by Mitchel Sivilotti, who is the CEO of OmniaBio. Thanks for joining us, Mitch.
Oh, thank you, Jayson.
First of all, before we get into the project, let me ask you a little bit about the potential of biomanufacturing and particularly here in Canada. I mean, we've heard a lot over the course of the pandemic about the importance of biomanufacturing, but it's been basically around vaccines. And of course, that's an important part of it. But it's certainly not the only opportunity that Canada has. And we have all sorts of great opportunities in the area of cell and gene therapy, which is the focus of OmniaBio and this particular project. But tell us about, well, first of all, why that is so important and some of the strategic opportunities you see for Canada in the area of cell and gene therapy.
Oh, sure, Jayson. I mean, firstly, I'd say that patient need is really driving, massive growth in this manufacturing sector. I mean, there's just a lot of patient need out there. And these advances in cellular and gene-based therapies are really making a difference. We see that happening through clinical trials in the early stages, and there's been a number of successes that have made it, to market approvals in the U.S. And so the output from those is showing positive feedback. A lot of investment is moving into the sector, as we've seen over the last few years, especially. And we see this market really growing at a compounded rate that is well into the double digits. By some measures, it's actually on the manufacturing side getting close to 20 to 30%. So these are very exciting numbers that put a lot of emphasis again on promoting this research, pushing that into clinical trials, and then moving that into the clinic and reaching patients. We're a part of that value chain, right? We're making that possible, and our focus in cell and gene therapy, particularly within the biomanufacturing market, is in cell and gene therapies. Where we manufacture is complex products that are cell-based, like CAR T, CAR NK, these immune cell-based therapies. We manufacture viral vectors as well, those for transduction of cells and also for drug product. And then on the stem cell therapy side with iPSCs, MSCs, and other cell therapies that have, for example, MSCs that are in market as well. So it's an exciting time. A lot of patient need, as I mentioned, and it's really something that is close to us from the beginning at CCRM, and as this company OmniaBio spins out of CCRM and its activities, that culture of wanting to help and understanding the science and getting these to patients is something that's, really important to us.
Very well. You're talking about the great research in this field, and particularly in cell and gene therapy, the work that Canadian Centre for Regenerative Medicine has been doing for some time, and work that we've partnered in before. But tell us a little bit more about the conditions that some of these cell and gene therapies could treat in patients. That's I think as we finding populations that are getting older, but also a lot of conditions that where this type of therapy could really help patients.
Well, I think the side of on the patient side that's been really exciting is there's a few in rare disorders, right, that are very important and exciting. And then there's the other side in oncology. And when we talk about oncology, we're looking at currently liquid tumors or non-solid tumors, right, which are, what we would refer to, I think, as leukemias and treatments like that, right? So those have been places where we've seen a lot of success. As we continue to develop the technology, there's a lot of interest and a lot of research and development going into how we can address solid tumors. So this is something more, I think, into the future. And if we can break through that, the industry will really see another kind of another wave of growth, if you will. But right now, where we are is in those leukemias. On the side of more rare diseases, what we see is a lot of treatments that are getting to market or soon to get to market using viral vectors like AAV. This is an exciting area. We see treatments in ocular. We see treatments with various metabolism type disorders like lysosomal storage disorders and such. So there's a number across the board are happening, but we see that primarily the investment is going into oncology, and I think it'll continue to go down that path.
Well, I want to get into the project in a minute, a little bit more about OmniaBio, but tell us first of all about the general lay of the land here. Are there certain advantages or strengths that that cell and gene therapy work has here in Canada, and what are some of the challenges that that the industry is facing right now, and that the project is going to help to address?
Well, I think when what we have an opportunity here based upon is really on building domestic manufacturing capability. So what the challenges we've had in the past are, there's a number of those, and what we need to do to really take advantage of this, as an industry, if Canada is going to be a player in the kind of fast growing and specialized industry, we all need to come together on a couple of points, right? Firstly, OmniaBio, needs to deliver on its vision and build the infrastructure at McMaster Innovation Park. This is also known as the MIP, as Canada's first large-scale commercial cell and gene therapy manufacturing facility. Next to that, we'd like to see governments continue to double down on efforts to support Canadian companies in this space and provide capital. And that's a little bit of what I was talking about. Is we do have capital constraints, and we need to work within those. But continuing to grow capital availability is something very important. Also, training something that's very important to us. OmniaBio has made it a kind of a pillar of what we're doing and making better and a differentiated element of the services we provide. But training just broadly for the sector, for people that who are breaking in from the therapeutic side, but also in manufacturing, a lot of training support is something that's needed. And then continuing to support R&D and industry partnerships like NGen. So a national plan to continue to double down on that for governments. Next would be, on that training side, for colleges and universities and industry to work together and grow the large talent base that will allow us to compete, grow and win on the global stage. And then finally, we need to continue to spin off and finance world-class companies with new therapies that we manufacture right here and sell to the world.
Oh, that's great. So I know that you speak with a lot of authority here, Mitch, not only because you're CEO of OmniaBio, but because of the background you've had as well in the field. So tell us a little bit about how you got into this particular area.
Sure. Well, I guess I'm from the generation of biomanufacturing, actually, and it's funny that when you mention that, this just came to me, but I can remember a very long time ago mentioning that I was born in the year that biotechnology became real, which I'm not going to disclose my age, but the point is that right around that year was when it kind of all started, quite some time ago, in the 1970s. But where we go from there, when I started my career, I started with Paul Corporation, which is a well-known equipment and consumable provider and technology provider to this industry in biomanufacturing. They're now merged with Cytiva, a Danaher company. And Paul was really my home for the beginning of that. And that it was key leadership there that saw the cell therapy on the horizon and saw the importance of it and how it would be meaningful and valuable. So I was kind of brought into that in the early 2000s and had a great opportunity to build and grow with this industry right from the beginning. It was from there that I was able to get involved with a number of medical device manufacturing companies, bone marrow transplant facilities, and clinical development companies. And then I joined CCRM about 6 years ago to help them with their vision, continue to grow that in Canada. So I've had a global experience in cell and gene therapy over the last 20 years. And a lot of that has culminated into experience that I can bring back to Canada and Ontario to help grow this industry.
So, and now having worked with CCRM, the Canadian Centre for Regenerative Medicine, now with OmniaBio, tell us a little bit more about the vision behind OmniaBio itself.
Well, OmniaBio, is a contract development and manufacturing organization that is spin out of CCRM. So one of the important mandates of CCRM in growing the cell and gene therapy industry in Canada was to provide support to companies. So right from the beginning, almost 11 years ago, CCRM was partnering and networking and working with companies to provide them with support to move their therapeutic programs or their device development programs forward. It was at that time that a group started to form within CCRM that was providing those services. When I joined about 6 years ago, pardon me, at CCRM, we started creating that group into a more formalized commercial group to provide services at a professional level. That grew from process development on various platforms and technologies through to clinical manufacturing or early clinical manufacturing to phase 1 and 2. So we built that group, and at that point, it spun out, which was something that happened very recently. Through about 6 years of growth, we spun that out and took investment from an external strategic partner called Metapost, or named Metapost, that allowed us to then fund the expansion and build a late-stage clinical and commercial facility at McMaster Innovation Park. So this whole thing has really taken shape. And really what we're doing now is taking all that experience in platform development and providing GMP services into commercial manufacturing over the next couple of years.
Well, so the project that you're leading is one of NGen's biggest investments of any of our advanced manufacturing projects. Tell us a little bit about the project itself and what it's aiming to do.
Well, the project itself is has a number of partners. Really, we brought it together with four other partners to enable commercial scale manufacturing of cell and gene therapies in Canada. Right, the total project value is $34 million, of which which NGen is providing a $10.5 million grant. So a very large project, and it's divided up into those partnerships, which include Thera, Morphicell, which are Quebec-based companies, Aspect Biosystems, which is a Vancouver-based company, and Caddy, which has offices both in Montreal and in the GTA. So in combined, we have a nice breadth across the country in terms of representation, and then also the technologies that we're looking at there. That includes a training company, which is Caddy. That includes companies developing medical devices and therapeutics from those, which is like Aspect, and then therapeutics developers like Excel, Thera, and Morphicell. So a number of companies combined with a commercial stage CDMO like OmniaBio seems like a great kind of formula for how do we, start building very strong manufacturing platforms for each of those companies and for ourselves to provide to other third parties, and then bring those through various stages of clinical development, those companies into commercial ultimately. So be able to provide a pathway that's domestic for manufacturing for all these companies. That's really how we view NGen and how it's enabling us.
Oh, that's super, and we're really glad to be a part of this. One of the things that really stands out is this is building unique biomanufacturing capabilities for cell and gene therapy here in Canada, and as you say, for domestic manufacturing and scale up here. But are there other centers, particularly in the United States or Europe, that are doing similar things?
To what NGen is doing?
Well, no, to the type of facility that or the resources, the infrastructure that you're trying to set up or that you are setting up at McMaster.
Well, there is certainly, look, across the industry, because this is a relatively nascent industry, right? There are gaps in all the elements that we talk about We have those in Canada, but those are also the same globally. There are gaps in training this future workforce, right? OmniaBio is projecting to hire over 1,000 people over the next 10 years with additional job creation opportunities in supporting industries. So this is a very important element. You're going to see that same thing in other countries as well. And they're trying to address it in their own ways as well, right? So we're all working towards kind of a collective goal, but where we're focused on is trying to make Canada and provide Canada leadership in that area. The other part of that would be, as you mentioned, building expertise and capabilities. CGT manufacturing includes development of automated closed system manufacturing, quality management systems, analytics, regulatory protocols. These are all in high demand by the industry, and these are things that we're putting together in collaboration with these other groups under the NGen grant and individually. And then advancing, I mean, there's another element really that's important to that NGen partnership, which is advancing those Canadian-based cell and gene therapeutic products as well. So not only do we have, I think globally, these challenges where we need to improve training, we need to build, domestic capabilities and expertise, but then we also need to be pushing forward these therapeutic products and bringing them to market, right? We need to show that value and show that they're achieving patient outcomes. This will lead to greater investment into the industry, lead to more R&D, lead to more products, and lead to better innovations that make these products actually more affordable and and available to everyone around the world.
You're mentioning talent in particular, and our experience with our Careers of the Future initiative is that what really drives young people is the ability to make a difference in the world, and you may not be surprised by the number of inquiries we get from young people about how do I get involved in life sciences, and particularly, I guess, in 3D printing human tissues. For some reason, that seems to be a big issue on the minds of young people today. But this is certainly an area where young people can make a difference in the world. And so, what would your advice be for young people looking at a career in biomanufacturing, or particularly cell and gene therapy? What kind of career path should they be following?
It's funny you mentioned that. I was thinking about that a little bit, and how the structure of the biomanufacturing company, kind of in terms of an org chart, provides opportunities in a number of areas. So I think a lot of people, when they think of, hey, I want to get into biomanufacturing, they have a tendency to think almost exclusively about production. So think, how do I get involved in manufacturing from a production standpoint? And that falls within the operations department, but there's a lot of roles within biomanufacturing. So this is a broader industry than perhaps that kind of high level look at how do I get involved with manufacturing from a production standpoint. We're talking about supply chain and capabilities within, logistics, storage facilities, etc. There's also facility management itself, construction of facilities, the materials that go into those facilities, managing facilities, validation, calibration. Then there's, working within certain areas that are involved in the production process, which include the technology transfer of technologies into these facilities. We have a scientific team that works specifically on that. For example, all these companies do. It's very important to be able to take a process from another organization and move that into a CDMO to be able to manufacture that at a high quality and on time. Other parts like quality control, the quality department itself, compliance. There's also business development, information systems. And then there's the process development side of that, which is critical to initially creating these manufacturing systems under a quality design type of approach, and then moving them through tech transfer into GMP and through manufacture at all those stages until commercial. So there's a lot of, I guess, a broad opportunity for a lot of roles in this industry. So giving some thought to, what's the most attractive to the individual, what might be interesting to you. It's not all the same. It's quite a broad field. And then, keeping an eye out for training and internship opportunities. I think that's something to keep an eye out for. Certainly, due to the fact that we have a shortfall in available talent in this industry, makes for a lot of opportunities there.
No, that's a good point. You've got not only the requirement of OmniaBio and your partners, but the entire supply chain around that, which is a high tech supply chain and manufacturing supply chain as well, and of course on the research side too. Does your presence at McMaster, does that McMaster works so well with companies as a broad network and in life sciences in particular, and then also works very closely with colleges too. Is that an advantage for you at McMaster Innovation Park?
Yeah, I get asked the question fairly often about, why did we select Hamilton and McMaster Innovation Park? And the easy answer to that is that a manufacturing facility at the scale and size of OmniaBio's commercial unit is something that wouldn't make sense downtown, right? So let's start there, which is we're looking for a lower cost of manufacturing. We're also looking for a place it's a little bit easier from a logistics standpoint. So the location there matters because it's not only very close still to downtown and to CCRM, where we continue to have a major and strong partnership, but it's also close to a number of things that are important to us, like international airports, both Pearson and Hamilton has. It's also closer to the U.S. border at Buffalo and a little bit closer actually to other borders that we have in the United States, which is helpful because we will be manufacturing not only domestically, but some of those products that we manufacture for domestic partners will obviously need to be shipped internationally and to the U.S. as a major market for cell and gene therapy. And then finally, I think, the Hamilton region, actually two more things. One would be the Hamilton region has a history of manufacturing. And so we're quite excited to be working there within that manufacturing history. I think the talent in the area is very strong in terms of workforce and proximity also to Mississauga, which has a huge GMP manufacturing population. And then, as you mentioned, at McMaster Innovation Park, we're talking about a biomanufacturing campus, which that's very interesting to us. How do we have vertical integration with partnerships and companies that are on the park to make this more than just a standalone OmniaBio manufacturing company, sitting on the park, but we're talking about, are there other biomanufacturing companies on that park or that would need our services or will work with us in process development, like therapeutic developers, or on more of the supply chain side, cryobanking facilities, logistics partners, and other raw material suppliers that are critical to our manufacturing. Those could all be there. So a lot of great reasons to be at MIP and in Hamilton.
Apart from the fact that you're just down the road from NGen's global headquarters at MIP as well. So.
Of course.
So let me finish with the question about working with NGen. This is one of our major co-investments in a project. We see it as very important strategically for setting up biomanufacturing in Canada, and particularly around the opportunities around cell and gene therapy. But we don't, it's difficult to get money out of NGen and get the investment from NGen. What was your experience, and what's your advice for others that might be looking to set up a collaborative project with NGen as well?
Well, that's and you know what, I would be remiss, Jayson, if I didn't thank, first of all, NGen for their support on this project. I don't know if I explicitly said this on this call, so I want to make sure that I did. And I know that our partners between CADI, XL Thera, Morphocell, and others, really appreciated as well. So I'll put that there. But just to start, I mean, there's a few things that I think were important. Firstly, everyone needs to benefit. Our partnership involves 5 independent companies, and everyone's interested in advancing their technologies for biomanufacturing. But we're all collectively focused on strengthening a domestic CGT biomanufacturing sector in Canada as well. So we all benefit together, but we also benefit individually. So it's important for us to continue to consider that. But there's also a few other things. I think I would say, for example, NGen's flexibility, which has been crucial to moving with the needs of our rapidly evolving field. I mean, we couldn't have predicted every single thing that we wanted to do with our funding. We gave it a shot, and then we found that NGen was very flexible in understanding us and saying, look, we understand that once you took step 1, well, step 2, the view on that may have changed a little bit in the direction of your development. So let's update the project plans quickly, avoid delays, and help companies that are getting NGen funding extract the most from the benefit. So that was a good one. Another one, I would say that when we started working with NGen and actually initiated the project, CCRM was heavily involved. CCRM actually initiated it and brought together various partners from across the country and acted as a neutral partner at the project planning phase, where budgets and project scope considerations are being developed. They were a great. This kind of leads me towards saying just the importance of a great lead partner that works together with everyone collaboratively at the beginning of the project and then throughout. Because we had CCRM there and OmniaBio at the same time, I think that ours was it was just a very strong approach and led to I think a seamless kind of startup and execution of the project. And then finally, something that I think is near and dear to everyone's heart, particularly in biomanufacturing, but I think in all advanced manufacturing sectors, is about confidentiality. What we found, I wanted to make sure I mentioned what we found is NGen's been very accommodating in recognizing confidentiality of the individual companies, whether that's between us and NGen or even between partners within our same project. That was just a word to help everyone understand that this is a concern. It's important to all of us, but NGen's been, as I mentioned, very accommodating.
No, it's super, Mitchell. We're extremely proud to have co-invested in this project, and just wish you all the very best in building the type of biomanufacturing facility that's going to position Canada as a world leader in the field.
Great, thank you, Jayson.
Okay, thanks very much, and thanks for joining us.
Okay, bye-bye.